You know what? I've done the sniff test. That's worked well for me. Andy, it's time to take a look at that first forecast. Chief Meteorologist Andy Anderson joining us. Andy, does the smell test work for you when you're checking your food in the fridge? Even an isolated thunderstorm or two, particularly late in the day. But the big thing I am watching, those winds and those wind gusts. Great piece there. I'm thankful for my job. I'm thankful for every single one of my colleagues in this building and outside this building. Of course, I'm thankful for my family in the Pacific Northwest. And of course, my girlfriend. Falls County Sheriff Ricky Skaman is out of jail tonight after posting a $195,000 bond on Monday. They call it a bag of hope because Libby tells me that's exactly what it is. Let's talk about that inspiration while watching TV. He's telling me off camera, team's got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. What's 2019 look like? And it is a warmer, muggier start than it was just yesterday. We're also dealing with some passing precipitation. How long is that going to stick around? Plus tracking some isolated thunderstorms. I'll have all that in my full forecast just ahead.
The past several months, as I mentioned earlier, have not been easy. Not for this community, not for the soldiers of Fort Hood and their families, and not for our Army.
The opening remarks from General Michael X. Garrett echo a reality of the last few months for an Army installation working to fix its image.
Vanessa Guillen did not deserve this!
The cries of Vanessa Guillen's family are still fresh in the minds of many across the globe and right here in Central Texas.
What happened to Specialist Guillen was horrible. What happened to Sergeant Fernandez was tragic. But as I said before, bad things happen to great units. And we will not be defined by this.
And as cries for change come from all over the world.
These are difficult and challenging times at Fort Hood.
The new Deputy Commanding General John Richardson IV has a plan, he says, to build cohesive teams, his #1 priority.
Through proactive leadership, we will build these cohesive teams that will be inclusive, and they will live the Army values. We will do this over the coming days, weeks, and months through a deliberate and focused effort called Operation Phantom Action.
Operation Phantom Action, he says, will emphasize the obligation of leaders to take action, intervene, and hold soldiers accountable to their professional ethics and Army values. But how did Fort Hood, the great place, get here? And so I asked, why did it take Vanessa Guillen's murder for these changes to be enacted? Why did we get to that point before we're here now?
We've been, we have been looking at some of this longer than Specialist Guillen's death.
General Garrett said the Army has been looking hard at sexual harassment and sexual assault for years. Suicide, racism, and extremism have also been looked at in the past, but especially more recently with the death of George Floyd in Minnesota.
We started looking hard at the Army internally then, and we are going to do everything we can to uncover everything that happened, identify the folks who were involved, and ensure that they're held accountable.
And while a new plan is implemented and change, they say, is on the horizon, the trust broken isn't being ignored as they work to repair it, one day at a time.
We break trust individually. We broke trust with Specialist Guillen's family. We broke trust with other families, and I think that's how we have to approach it.
He was, everybody loved my dad universally because he was funny, he was charismatic, and he was just, there are people like that just kind of draw people to him, and he was one of those special people.
Adrienne Hodges loves to talk about her dad.
He was just, you know, he was a soldier, he was a hero, and I was used to him being gone for deployments, but he always came back.
Jonathan Ross Edwards was born April 20th, 1956 in Bitburg, Germany, but everyone who knew him called him Jack. He served in the United States Army and then the Marine Corps as an officer flying Cobra helicopters.
He chose to go to the Gulf. He ran into someone, I believe at McDonald's, and they started talking about the Persian Gulf conflict that was coming up, and he decided he needed to go.
Adrienne was Daddy's little girl and all of 8 years old in 1991. Captain Jack was hell-bent on doing his part to rid the earth of a man named Saddam.
So my job is to go and fight bad guys like that.
Captain Jack explained to his little girl he needed to be one of the good guys and stand up for what was right because Saddam was so wrong.
You pray every night, and we watched it on TV. You saw the Scud missiles going across the sky, and...
But her daddy, her hero, the funniest man that everyone knew, Captain Jack, never made it home. It's been 10,790 days since Captain Jack left this earth as a hero of war when his helicopter crashed along the border of Iraq and Kuwait. He was the first to be buried from the war at Arlington National Cemetery. His death has never been forgotten.
I love talking about it.
Adrian and her husband own and operate Boulder Public Brewing in Belton and crafted a beer in the name of her father, calling it Captain Jack, donating all proceeds to the Desert Storm War Memorial in Washington, D.C.
Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, now South Carolina, Texas.
The recipe for Captain Jack is being shared across the country. Any state can pick it up and brew it while pledging their sales of the Helles Buck German lager, her daddy's favorite, to help fund the $40 million memorial in our nation's capital. Adrian says she doesn't care how long it takes to raise the money, just as long as the wall gets built for the men and women who gave their lives alongside her hero, Jack.
He's having a beer with a lot of people right now. I think every time someone drinks a Captain Jack, he's cheersing along with them.
In almost 30 years to the day he died, she knows he's here and that he always has been.
I think my dad's sacrifice and the lessons he left on this earth are really strong, and that's the core of what's behind the Captain Jack Project.
In Temple, Barry Rowan, 6 News.
He was the smiley boy. He just was so happy as a child.
This is Lynn Patton.
That's how he always was.
Remembering her son Matthew.
But he was also a daredevil.
Oh my God, that's something. Oh God, I can't say this.
He did that specifically because he knew it upset me. I used to take a fit like, oh my gosh, you know.
Matthew Scott Patton was born Monday, March 26, 1990 to Lynn and John Patton, and was the youngest brother to Evan.
You know those little orange cars with the yellow roof? That kids can go in and they just use their feet to roll along.
Always the jokester, always looking to make his parents laugh, always showing off and being the life of every moment.
And so my oldest son, Evan, who's by the books and all that stuff, it's in there like a normal person driving the car. And as he's going down the hill, Matthew comes running out and jumps and like slides onto the roof. He's going flying down the hill. I'm like, oh yeah, so Matthew.
Lynn said she couldn't figure out why Matthew joined the Army, but learned later.
Oh, another one just hit. Something else just hit. A very large plane just
Her youngest son and 5 of his classmates pledged their lives to fight for our freedom as war touched the shores of our great nation, September 11th, 2001. Matthew joined the Army in 2008 and deployed to Afghanistan in October of 2009. He spent a year in the war-torn country, saw things he could never unsee, felt guilt and anxiety he couldn't shake loose before returning home in 2010.
He was different. Some of the pictures I sent you, you'll see which ones I'm talking about. His eyes, there's no smile, his eyes look dead.
Lynn said Matthew turned to substance abuse in an attempt to bury his feelings.
It was around 3 o'clock, and my sisters just looked at me and they said, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know. My stomach feels really bad. I think something bad is happening right now." And about 3:16 is when he pulled the trigger.
Her boy, her hero, her Matthew, killed himself the day after Mother's Day, 2013. His war, she admits now, was finally over. It's been 2,573 days since Sergeant Matthew Scott Patton shot himself.
It's very important that they don't squish those emotions down.
In the 7 years since their lives changed forever, Lynn and her family started the Matthew Patton Foundation after speaking to 400 soldiers at Fort Hood. It's a chance for them to save a life of another active duty soldier or veteran struggling with mental health issues. To date, they've saved 35 lives.
I think I would allow things to be as they are.
Lynn said she wouldn't change a thing because Matthew was troubled, and he is now at peace. Of course, she misses his laughter, his smile, and his joy.
He was the life of our family.
She says she wishes he was here but he's given her a gift to save others through his name every moment of every day, but readily admits
It's a hard trade. Trust me, it's a hard trade, but I don't know.
in Temple, Barry Roy, 6 News.